Hi, guys, this is Mrs. Mendy, and today we're going to start talking about genetics. Now, we've talked about DNA before, but now we're going to apply how the DNA actually works in organisms. Thinking about how genetics works in humans and in organisms like humans that have two biological parents. So, just remember that. You have two biological parents. Um, Even if you've never seen those parents, you still have two biological parents. That's just how our species works. Half your DNA comes from your biological mother, and half comes from your biological father. Your chromosomes are in pairs because of this. You get one from your mother and one from your father. Here's a diagram of all the different chromosomes that humans have. And the chromosome, remember, just means like a separate piece of DNA. Okay. And you may have seen them as sort of X shaped before, and it's because they're X shaped when they're getting ready to divide and they're easy to see. But they really are like this, just like one string like this. And it's coiled up. But it's just one string. And so you have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And each one pair has one from your mother, one from your father. So one of these is from your mom, one of these is from your dad. The only one we know for sure without testing is sex chromosomes. So if you got a Y chromosome, it's from your dad because only males have the Y chromosomes. We can talk more about that later. The paired chromosomes, one from your mom, one from your dad, have genes for doing the same things and they're in the same order. So, say, like, this gene is for eye color and this gene is for fur texture. This is for a mammal, I guess. Um, and this gene is for temperature regulation. So, these genes, they're even though these chromosomes are not exactly the same, they have the same genes for doing the same things in the same order. Genes that code for the same things can be different, like different recipes for the same food. So here are two pieces of chocolate cake, but they had different recipes that made them, so they come out different even though they're both chocolate cake. Okay, here's the first of several kind of very sciency words that you will just have to work on and memorize because it's a word for a very specific thing. It's an allele, and that's how you say it, allele. I know it looks like allele, but it's not. It's allele. And that's a recipe for a particular gene. So, for example, for these flowers' colors, there's a purple allele and a white allele. Both those alleles code for flower color, but they're different forms or different recipes for flower color. So, different alleles on your paired chromosome. So, remember, one from your mom, one from your dad. You can have two alleles that are the same or two different ones. So, like here, the two alleles are different, and here the two alleles are the same. So that makes a big difference in how it comes out in your body. Oh, we use letters to symbolize different genes and different alleles because we don't want to say the whole name of the gene all the time. And scientists are always in a hurry and they're always lazy. They want to write the least amount possible. So, how that works is for example, these two are the same gene. So, we're going to use the same letter for both. That will tell us and other people that we're talking about this gene if we use that particular letter. Um, so, let's say that we're going to call this allele big B, and then we call this allele little b. So we're calling it that because they're both B, so we know that it's both about this gene that's right here in this place on this chromosome. For one gene, you can have three different combinations of two alleles. So remember, you're always going to have two alleles for any gene because you get one from your mom, one from your dad. okay? And so if there are 2 different alleles, you can have, possibly 3 different combinations. So you can have big B, you can have big B, or you can have little b, little b. And we call the combinations different labels. We call them homozygous if they're the same, and heterozygous if they're different. Oh, I didn't put a little pronunciation thing there, but it's homozygous, heterozygous. And you may recognize this homo hetero from like if someone is homosexual or heterosexual. Okay, so that to me that helps me remember because that's a more common word. Homosexual means that's people that like the same gender that they are. Heterosexual means people that like the different gender. So hetero means different. Homo means same. So you can see this is homozygous because these two are the same. This is heterozygous because these two are different. And I have heard some kids, students in the past, have said like, "Oh, you can remember this because this looks like 2 men because 'cause they're both big and they're homozygous. This looks like 2 women because 'cause they're small, and this looks like a man and a woman." So you can think of it that way if you want to, if that helps you. Gregor Mendel is a scientist, and he is the one that discovered these basic rules of genetics that we're going to be talking about. So, how traits are passed down from parents to offspring. And he worked with pea plants. So, the plants that, because he was a gardener in the monastery where he worked, he was in charge of the food gardens. And so, a lot of the things, examples that we give are going to be these pea plants that look like this. They're kind of pretty as well as being edible. Okay, and here's another vocabulary word for you. So purebred is the same as true breeding is the same as homozygous. And remember, homozygous means that they're the same. So your 2 alleles are the same. Okay? So what all of these things mean, and they mean the same thing. It's organisms that always have offspring with the same trait when they're crossed with that same breed. Okay? So that's what happens with homozygous. And we've known about purebred or true breeding from breeding animals a long time before we knew about Mendel's experiments. Okay? Because people, when they would breed animals or plants in agriculture, you would they found that sometimes the babies would be surprising, like if you cross them, and sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they were just like the parents. And in agriculture, they like it to be predictable, like just like the parents. Like you've got 2 really good horses and you want to cross them. If they're the same kind, if they're purebred, they're true breeding, you'll get other horses that look like them when they have babies. So that's a thing that farmers really like to have is purebred, just because they know what they're going to get and they don't want to have a surprise. It might be a better surprise, but they still don't want a surprise. Okay, check and make sure that you understand what I just said. So, if 2 purebred dogs of the same breed mate, what will the puppies look like? Here's 2 purebred dogs. I like this kind of sled dog. So if 2 purebred dogs of the same breed mate, what will the puppies look like? Well, they'll be the same, right? That's the whole point. That's the whole advantage of purebred dogs is you know what the puppies are going to look like. That's why people breed them. If they like what these ones look like and act like and seem like, then they want the puppies to be just like that too. Okay? So that's purebred, homozygous, true breeding means all the same thing. Okay? Mendel worked with purebred lines of pea plants and he crossed them to see what would happen. And this actually happened because he had an argument with another monk who from another monastery about plant breeding. And Mendel was like, "No, I think it happens like this." And the other guy said, "You don't know what you're talking about." And so from this argument, um, Mendel got the idea. It's like, "Well, I'm gonna prove that dumb guy wrong." And there's a lot of that in science. So, yeah, it's kind of petty, but scientists are petty, okay? Because they wanna know exactly what it is and that they're exactly right or exactly wrong, They wanna know. All right? So, think about if you crossed a purebred purple flower and a purebred white flower, guess what the offspring will look like, okay? Haha, but that's enough for today. So you'll have to find out next time. Okay.